Across this great nation, there is a culture of people who carry on a heritage. They have an intangible quality that can't be described, but it comes from deep within their hearts. They share an appreciation for the greatest things that come from Mother Earth. They watch over, understand, and care for the vast wilds of this great country. Fishing, hunting, and trapping are the foundations that Canada was built on. For over 2 centuries, we have taken to the woods and water to pursue wild game. Today, it's about conservation, preservation, and wildlife management. Whether you are a man or woman, fish or hunt, you should support sound wildlife management and proudly say, I am an angler and hunter. The Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters proudly presents Angler and Hunter Television. Brought to you by Canadian Tire, a proud partner of Angler and Hunter Television. Mercury Marine and Lund Boats. Yamaha ATVs. Browning Ammunition. Browning Firearms. Suffix Fishing Line. Rapala. Camillus Knives and Cuda Tools. Excalibur Crossbows. And Yukon Gear.
Oh, it's gonna jump! Oh!
Watching fishing shows on TV sure makes it look easy.
Awesome!
Cast after cast, fish after fish, right?
God, I'm right there!
Well, the truth is, yes, fishing can be that easy.
It's got some potential.
That is, of course, once you find them. Depending on the location and the species I'm after, it could take a day or 2 of scouting, or even some handy information from a local angler or guide. Patterning fish in midsummer is always one of the biggest challenges for me. Some fish are deep, while others can be found shallow. Locating active smallmouth bass can take some work, but with the use of Humminbird side imaging technology and a couple tricks to trigger the fish into biting, you can catch some of the biggest smallies of your life.
Ah, here we go. Something on the right here. That's all rock. What I'm looking for is weed beds on the rock.
By idling across shallow sand flats and using my Humminbird side imaging, I can locate thick weed beds and mark them with a waypoint.
Put it right on that patch and hit mark. Bam, saved into the Humminbird.
Once I have a few locations saved, it's time to see if the fish are there.
Okay, so there's 2 baits I'm going to be throwing today, but when the chop's on here and there's a bit of wind, first thing I'm going to do is take this rod. It's a 6'11" medium heavy rod. I'm going to have this R-Type 200 series reel spooled with Suffolk Siege 15-pound monofilament. I like a little bit of stretch because when these smallies hit, they do hit hard. And then I'm just going to basically tie on a 1/2 ounce stainless steel Terminator spinnerbait. Now there's something I'm going to do with this a little later. I'll show you, but for the most part, I'm just going to tie this on and make super long casts with it. There's one. Oh, it feels big. Wow. Whoa. I knew I'd get one in here. There were so many of them swimming around. Oh, that's a nice one. Whoa. Beautiful fish. It's probably like a high 3, close to a 4-pounder. Definitely gonna put the lucky strike under this one. There. Man, that's what I'm talking about. Terminator in action. He wasn't getting off in a month of Sundays. Man, look at that. That is a gorgeous fish right there. I tell you. Get bigger. Go on. Ooh, splashy. Okay, so the other bait I'm going to be throwing is a jerkbait. Now, Rapala's got a new jerkbait. It's called the Rip Stop. Typical of an X-Rap or maybe a Shadow Rap Shad is a similar bait, but these have a unique feature. I'll show you on the one I have tied on, but dives 3 to 4 feet, but you can rip it really fast and it'll stop dead. And for walleye, and especially big smallmouth that like to follow a bait and pursue it, that sudden stop, sometimes all it takes is just to trigger a strike. So when I tie this on, I've got 20-pound suffix braid on my spinning rod, and then here I've got a 10-pound suffix fluorocarbon leader tied to a snap. By tying it to a snap, it just gives it a little more freedom, so that when you really do jerk that bait and it comes to a stop, it has some movement here instead of having a knot tied directly to it. It gives it some movement, and then when a fish actually hits it, it won't feel as much resistance with the knots tied right to it because it's going to play in there. And it'll just snap that bait, eat it sideways, and then on the next jerk, when you feel the fish, you got to set the hook. But on this bait, you'll see how the tail's designed. It sort of slow tapers down, and that acts as a brake and pulls the bait back, and it comes to a complete stop. Well balanced, weighted with rattles, and it casts into the wind amazing. Put it on a 6'11" or a 7'2" medium heavy action spinning rod with a real fast tip, so there's not a lot of bend in it. You want to be able to precisely jerk that bait and make it go where you want it to go. And then, like I said, spool up with some 20-pound suffix braid, and you got yourself a great jerk bait set up. He's gonna jump! Oh, man! Now it's bulldogging. You don't want to pull too hard. I gotta get the net. That ripstop lived up to its name. No. Oh, he hooked really good. Ah, big one. Just as what I was saying, you know, I was making some erratic pulls with that, and then did 2 or 3 pauses. Look at the way this guy's got it. Oh, ate it. Ate it good. Hooks everywhere. Another fat little smallie. See that on the ripstop? I mean, I talked a little bit earlier about having a jerkbait on a snap, and that ripstop, especially the way it stops like that, you want it on the snap because it'll just sort of come to a complete stop. But that's a gorgeous smallie. Whew. Beautiful. Go on and get bigger.
This portion of Angler and Hunter Television brought to you by Yamaha ATVs.
A few quick casts with the jerkbait will often get some curious fish to show themselves.
You got to really think about what you're doing with these too. Wow, this fish is gonna jump. I was just gonna say, you got to really think about what you're doing. I paused it and felt a knock, and then that fish came screaming towards me. Did you see that? And jumped. Oh, he's bulldogging. Man, no sooner did I say that than it calmed down, and look at this guy. I got a net him. I don't. Did it? Come on. There. No sooner did I say that it calmed down, and I made a couple of casts with that jerkbait. This bait stopped so fast that I really didn't feel that fish hit. I just kind of felt a little knock. And sure enough, bam! Oh, take it easy. He is hooked good. Look at that. Took it sideways. Yeah, hang on, fish. How do you do this? You could hook a fish twice that way if you wanted to. And that just goes to show you, when it stops, they're hitting it. And I didn't even feel that hit. Wow. Chunky smallmouth. Much better than those little ones I was getting earlier. Go on and get bigger. That's the one good thing. I just had another smallie. I could see them about 20 feet from the boat under the bait. And when you pause it, they come up and look at it, and if they don't eat it, you know that fish is down there. So what I like to do is with Minn Kota, you can hit the anchor button and it'll lock you on that spot and allow you to make a few more casts, as opposed to drifting or having to stand on the trolling motor to keep your position. Now I can just focus on watching where my bait is and keeping an eye out there if that fish comes back or follows. And what I can do is pause it or start to twitch it and try and entice him into hitting it. Man, they just ripped that thing right out of your hand. Zing! Woo! It's amazing how strong smallmouth are. They do say pound for pound they're the best fighter, and this is a perfect example of why. This is just a little guy, and he is going ornery. Pretty cool bait. Now, these don't need a net for these little guys, but you do got to be careful. The ripstop hooks are fine trebles. You don't want one of them in your finger. Look at that. He was never going to get off. Sticky little bait for an aggressive little fish. Yeah, so see this bait, I've got it tied on a snap here just to give it a little more motion, but basically that's the difference right here, is that tail fin. The bait actually just comes to a complete stop, and that seems to be when they're going to smash it.
I spent a full day running around the lake scanning the depths, shoals, and break lines for schooling smallmouth bass and had found very little action.
So he's up here eating. I mean, look how fat that fish is.
With only a couple smaller fish and some lethargic followers, it was obvious that this pattern wasn't going to produce the size of fish I was after.
He's right under it.
When smallies follow and nip at my bait, I know they want to eat it,
He's coming up to it.
but they're getting too much time to look at the lure.
Not going to hit it.
That's when I speed things up and start burning blades.
You know, when it comes to catching big fish, there's only one way to go after them. Heavy metal, this stainless steel Terminator spinnerbait. A half-ounce blade on a calm day like this over some rocks, and it's incredible the size of bass you can catch.
A half-ounce tandem willow spinnerbait is money for getting smallies cranked up. White or silver are my first choices as they can be seen from long distances in clear water.
Got one. Whammed it. Wow. Man, oh man, when they hit that spinnerbait, they hit that spinnerbait. Ooh, look at this thing. Beautiful fish. Strong. Holy, that's what we were after. Earlier in the day, I got a few small fish on the jerkbait, that ripstop. Nice fish, man. Oh. Oh, that spinnerbait just popped out when I flopped him into the lucky strike. Oh, that's another fat smallie. Getting bigger. The thing about, you know, I mean, I don't know what that fish, probably a 3-pounder, but the thing about when you're burning spinnerbaits, the fish don't really have time to think about it. Where I saw earlier, I was throwing that ripstop, and on the kind of day we're having, the fish would come up and hit it on the paws. And I started throwing it here around this weed bed that's out in this flat. And I had fish follow the ripstop, but they weren't hitting it. They'd come right to the boat behind it. So I decided to pick up that Terminator and just start burning it. And those fish now had to charge up and actually smash that bait. They didn't have a choice. And when by the time they turn, you got them hooked, and awesome fish just like that. Let's see if we can get some bigger ones.
This portion of Angler and Hunter Television brought to you by Browning Ammunition.
There's one. I'm gonna hit spot lock. Just a little guy, but he smashed that thing. Oh, got off. Oh, oh well, smashed that spinnerbait pretty good. Okay, so I've had a few fish actually hit the blades and roll my spinnerbait sideways, and I haven't hooked them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little trick. What you first need is a little piece of tubing. This is just black. You can get clear surgical tubing, but just a piece of tubing, soft rubber, cut it down, and then you take a feathered treble hook trailer, basically little treble trailer right there. So you take that tubing, slide it over the eye of the treble hook. So that's what it's going to look like. And then what you do is you want the top of that treble hook, top treble facing up. And you simply just turn it sideways, punch it through your spinnerbait's hook, nice and gently, slide it to the bend, and that's going to stick straight back. So now what happens is a lot of times smallies will actually come up and bump it with their nose or hit it really hard from the side to stun it. Then you're going to catch them in the corners of their mouths right here. It just makes sure that short striking fish get hooked. There he is. Not losing you this time, fish. Oh, it feels good. Man! See that? That little bit of chop does it. That's why you put that treble hook on there. That's a nice smallie. Ooh. I just got slammed in there and lost one. 3 casts later, another one. There. That's what I'm talking about. That's getting better right there. That's what you do with that Terminator spinnerbait. You just burn that steel. Whew, my pliers way over here. Now I got him on the main hook. You'll see that treble hook's free. He clobbered that. That's a slamming smallie right there. What a beefy fish. And that's what I'm saying, you know, you just turn and reel that spinnerbait. And I mean, that's a 4-pounder. That's a real solid smallmouth right there. And when they hit it hard. And even though I've had 2 or 3 good bumps, since I put that treble hook on, I just had a fish on and it even got off. So there's no guarantees.
The Fishing Edge is brought to you by Minn Kota and Humminbird.
To get the edge over the bass, I used the Lund 1875 Pro V Bass, rigged with a 200 horsepower Mercury Optimax. Minn Kota's 80-pound thrust Ultrex made staying over the weeds a cinch. A Rapala medium-heavy 6'11" R-type rod and R-type 200 baitcast reel spooled up with 15-pound Suffolk Siege monofilament, made for easy long casting of a half-ounce Terminator stainless steel spinnerbait that was tied to a 10-pound Suffolk's fluorocarbon leader. And don't forget the Lucky Strike aluminum basket net for making sure those bronze bombers come in the boat.
It's all about burning that spinnerbait. Like that. He was halfway back to the boat. Look at this guy. Come on. Whoa, easy. I don't have time to go. Holy, he's bigger than I thought. I didn't think he was that big. I should have netted him, but I took a chance. Ooh, he's hooked good. I got him on the main hook and not the stinger hook. See that? Beef. Now that's beef right there. Look at the guts on these things. Coming up and smashing that spinnerbait. Totally incredible. Oh, I really could use a few more of those, but I mean, if that's all you caught all day was a few of those, these are giant smallmouth. I don't care what anybody tells you. They're just pigs. Man, you need to go get bigger. Whoa, he's mad. Woo! Terminated. There's another one. Giant. Whoa! Wow! Whoa! This thing is massive. Holy. This is probably the biggest smallmouth I've ever caught in my life. What a tank. It looked so big, so we're going to find out. God, I'm into the net. Oh! Wow! And this thing just torqued that Terminator. Wow! Right through the side of the cheek. I am jacked up for this fish. Oh, what a beast. Did you see him jump? Like, that's probably a 6-pound smallie. And he smashed that spinnerbait. What a thing. Look at his tail is as thick as my wrist. What a monster smallie. Whew. And that's just it, you know, like there's a weed patch here and I've seen a few fish come up and follow the spinnerbait. I got bumped. I broke one off earlier. Awesome. Wow, what a giant. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, burn a half-ounce spinnerbait and fish like that slam it. You wouldn't think it, but it happens. I gotta tell you, find those weed beds. I used the side imaging on the Humminbird to find those weed beds, and we got up on top of this rock shelf, and once we did, we really got into the fish. So just goes to show you, action baits, doesn't matter. I mean, we had wind this morning, it's flattened right out now, fish are still biting, and get out there, burn some spinnerbaits, rip some jerkbaits, and catch giant bass.
Closed captioning of Angler and Hunter Television is brought to you in part by Ontario Out of Doors Magazine. Angler and Hunter Television has been brought to you by Canadian Tire, Mercury Marine and Lund Boats, Yamaha ATVs, Browning Ammunition, Browning Firearms, Suffolk's Fishing Line, Rapala, Camillus Knives and Cuda Tools, Excalibur Crossbows, and Yukon Gear. For more information on the products used in this episode of Angler and Hunter Television, visit AHTV.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Remember, conserve and protect our great outdoors.